Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Eden Zero, Chapter 110. When we last left our heroes, Shiki and the gang met Nadia in the temple, who guided them to the cavern they would have to pass through to reach the Mother Beacon. However, it was very hot and very fiery, and none of them had the power to get through it, and so Witch had gone back to Blue Garden to a theater where she found Laguna acting there and asked Laguna for help. So let's jump into Chapter 110, A Robot in Love, which seems to have nothing to do with the description I just gave, except maybe there's the Nadia love of my life thing from a couple chapters ago. Anyway, our cover here is Pino and Happy sitting on a table looking very adorable, perhaps being in love, who's to say? That would be a very out of left field ship, but alright. Anyway, Red Cave, the Undersea Temple. And so the gang is just kind of sitting around, waiting for Witch to get back. And Wise looks around. Witch sure is taking her time. Homura is still fanning herself, along with the pack of ice on her forehead. And Pino asks, "What could her plan be?" And Shiki turns to Nadia. "Hey, yes? What's this clue to Mother that's supposed to be at the end of the cave? Is it like a map or something?" Oh, that's Wise, that last sentence. Nadia responds, "That is something you must discover for yourselves." "But I want to know. Come on, tell us." And Nadia stops him. It is a secret. I'm an old model, after all." And Rebecca pauses for a moment before asking her, "So, the robots outside?" Nadia looks at her. "It looks like they were left lying there a long time ago. What happened?" "There is a certain treasure guarded by this land, and worshipped since ancient times. In the past, we saw countless travelers. Many adventurers visited the temple, hoping for a glimpse of our treasure, because hidden within the treasure was a beacon that would guide them to Mother." So clearly something bad happened to that. Shiki listens silently before Pino responds, "But where is the treasure?" "Someone stole it from us 200 years ago. The ether radiating from the treasure is what powered the androids who live here. When it was lost, because the androids relied on its energy, they began to shut down." That's... So what is the treasure? Because it seems like that... Is the treasure... So, because she said in the past that there's the treasure and there's the beacon, right? The treasure and the beacon are two different things. But here, hidden within the treasure was a beacon, which I'm guessing is the same thing as the Mother Beacon she was talking about in the past couple of chapters. So when the treasure was stolen, what happened to the, like, how is the beacon still here if the treasure is stolen? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, when it was lost, because the androids rely on its energy, they began to shut down. And Happy asks her, "But didn't it affect you, Nadia?" "Of course. I shut down as well. But Andrew was determined to repair me. He eventually succeeded. Although, I can no longer operate without this cable. Andrew, I'm going to guess, is the dead guy." And Kashiki asks, "Andrew?" "A human engineer. He used to live here and conduct maintenance on the androids. He was a very kind, friendly young man. A little mischievous. She kind of like runs her fingers, blushes. And Rebecca looks away, having put the pieces together. But Nadia's eyes like sparkle, and Homura asks her, "Did you love him?" "Please don't make me say it. I'm an old model, you know." And she's like, head in her hands, blushing. And Wise just looks at her, a human and an android in love? And Homura, like, looks back at him. "I see nothing wrong with it." And Wise turns away. "Fine. I'm from 50 years ago. I don't get you young people these days." Honestly, Wise needs to remind us that he's old as shit more often. And then Shiki like, points out, "She's older than you." And Nadia is still like dancing. "I am an old model." And Rebecca then, thinks back to Nadia, love of my life, and Ben asks, "So, what happened to Andrew?" "He said he would retrieve the treasure, and he left our world. That was 200 years ago." And so with that, any doubt Rebecca had is, cleared away as she remembers the skeleton in the escape pod. "But I will wait as long as it takes. I will be here when Andrew returns." I'm sorry, not. I don't. I'm trying to like. For a moment, I was like, "Well, Nadia joined the crew." I'm not sure. I don't know. Because of course she's never going to meet Andrew again because Andrew is super dead. Um, I don't know. That's gonna be a hard scene to read. Um, no one else really seems to have quite figured out. Maybe Wise has figured out where Andrew is because he's looks down sullenly. But Homer is smiling. Pino is like shining in like rapt attention at this story. And Shiki asks, "But 200 years is longer than a human can." And Rebecca like snaps her hand over him. And then she asks, "You really believe in him, don't you?" "Yes." And she like Nadia like clenches at her fist. "He made me a promise. He promised he would come back to me, and I believe in him." Yeah, this is gonna be a hard scene when she finds out the truth about Andrew. But Rebecca smiles sadly, and Nadia continues, "The treasure has been lost, but the beacon to Mother has remained, and will remain indefinitely, so you may rest easy on that count." How is that? How? I'm curious. Like, what is the treasure that it would be stolen, but they would leave the beacon to Mother? I don't know. And then Happy asks, "And that's how Ziggy got it?" He is not the only one. Many adventurers have obtained the beacon. And Wise asks while randomly, like, flicking Pino's ears all of a sudden? I don't know why. What does that mean? Doesn't it run out? I wonder what sort of a beacon it could be. I don't get what's going on with Wise and Pino here. It's so sudden, so random. I don't know. And just then, we hear a sploosh as someone enters the water wall. And Witch arrives. "Thank you for waiting, everyone." And everyone notices her. "Witch! Finally!" And Rebecca notices something, probably Laguna. "Wait, what the?" And yep, it's a witch entering in with Laguna. Laguna? I assume prolonged negotiations, so I asked Lady Clean to help, but he agreed to aid us with surprisingly little resistance. And we flash back to Blue Garden, and Laguna saying, "On one condition." And we don't find out what the condition is where we go back to the present. But he does say, "Don't forget it." "I won't." And Wise kind of snaps, "Just a damn minute." And Shiki, who, has no memory of World 29, who's that guy? And Homer shouts, "I believe he was with Clean, one of Draken's minions." "We weren't minions. Or even if we were, he needed us." "I didn't know he was so freakishly old. But since he was, he needed ether masters of each element to help him maintain the balance of his ether." And Witch asks, "Those would be the element 4, correct?" "Oh, so that's a new thing. So how does that work then? Because if they didn't know that they were balancing out his ether to, work with a life support machine to keep him alive or whatever, how did they do that without knowing? I don't know. Anyway, you cut him off from the elements, and you destroyed his life support device. That's how you beat him. The boss. Draken wasn't at full strength. And don't you forget it." Oh, so is he saying that Draken was weakened by the defeat of the Element 4? And then the life support device was destroyed, of course, is just how he, how they finished him off, or how they turned him into the tentacle monster, and then the black hole attack that Shiki had finished him off, whatever. I don't know. Maybe I should stop recording videos after midnight, because I'm kind of loopy right now. Anyway, and don't you forget it. And Shiki just stares at him silently, and Wise kind of snaps. "Who in blazes does this guy think he is? Stop it, Wise. He won't give us any trouble." And Laguna looks over at Rebecca. "You're the chick Draken was trying to find." And Rebecca tells Wise, "In the world where they beat us, in World 29, Laguna was the one person who was decent to me. I don't think he's a bad guy deep down. Laguna kind of like scratches the back of his head. Oh, I see. You jumped through time. No wonder we lost. Anyway, I'm here to help. I have a contract with your sorceress friend. Are you sure about this, witch? Shiki asks. Yes, I do not doubt him. And so Laguna steps forward and he has kind of like staring contest with Shiki for a moment. And he looks at Shiki. I can't believe a kid like you beat Draken. And Shiki already eyes wide. You know what he's here for. Hi, you want to be my friend? I'll pass, thanks. And Nadia like fawns over Witch. How beautiful. Witch notices her and asks Nadia, was there anyone with Lord Ziggy when he came here 15 years ago? He was alone. And so Witch thinks, he didn't bring the 4 shining stars. And then we jump right into the cave. Moving right along, but it's seemingly just Laguna, Shiki, and Witch. And Laguna looks at it, a cave full of fire, huh? Hold on, where are the others? Apparently Shiki just, like, did he warp here or something without noticing it? I don't know. But Witch answers, I asked them to wait in the temple. You will only need our powers and yours, Lord Shiki, to traverse the cave. How was Shiki not there for that conversation? Because the temple isn't that big. How did he... I don't know. This is a really weird panel. Let's move on. And we see a bit of, like, fire starts to, like, the top of Witch's swimsuit starts to melt off. Because, of course, it does. And Shiki, shouts out, Witch, your swimsuit! Not to worry. If you have no ethical concerns, I am unconcerned with being nude. Laguna snaps, I'm concerned about your way of thinking. For a sorcerer such as myself, exposure of the face is a greater source of shame than general exposure of the skin. And Shiki points out, but you're not in that mask you always wear. And Witch suddenly realizes that and like covers her face, blushing. Eek! Laguna comments, that's actually kind of cute. Then he turns back to the problem at hand. So, what do we do? You will use your power, Lord Laguna, to transform Lord Shiki into water. My ether will give him a coating to maintain his shape. Then Lord Shiki will use his gravity powers to proceed through the cave. But Laguna shoots that down. He's gonna die. And Shiki's just like, what? Surrounded by this much fire, any water will evaporate. That is what my ether coating is for. So with that little bit of assurance, Laguna activates his ether gear. Don't say I didn't warn you. First, we need to make him cry. And which just like lies to Shiki. Lord Shiki, there's a bug on your shoulder. Yeah! And with the freaking out, little tears form, and he plops down into water. Laguna looks at him. That was easy. Beginning the coating process. And she shapes the water Shiki into, Shiki's normal shape. Oh, I'm a water man. Coating complete. You should be able to use your ether gear. And we see, Shiki's ether mind appear on his arm. It works. And Shiki confident now. Okay, this time I'm gonna make it. And he, using his gravity ether gear, shoots through the fire. And the fire kind of like brushes off against him. We see steam start to rise. And Laguna asks Witch, can't he just use gravity? Can't he just use gravity to push the flames down? But Witch comments, it would appear that the ether of this place prevents him from doing that. And Shiki continues his journey through the cave. And then it looks like he's covered in fire or something? Or no, I think he finally breaks through. Laguna looks shocked. Whoa, I knew Lord Shiki could do it. Okay, so he's still going. It's not that he has done it, is what that line is saying. It's that he's gonna make it at this point. And he continues his fall, I guess. At the end of this cave, there's a clue to finding Mother. And as he carries on, he reaches, all of a sudden, a building of some kind. Like, inside of the building. Kind of like the temple, maybe? But I don't remember the shingles of a roof being on the temple. But he lands on the floor, and he looks up. is this? And he sees little faint lines. Ether? There was once a part of me in this chamber. Is this Mother's voice? Who's there? It has since been lost, but my ether still remains. So all this ether came from the stolen treasure? Follow this ether, and it will show you the path to find me. And Shiki figures out who this is. Me? I am the matriarch of the cosmos. I am Mother. And we see a vision of Mother that looms over Shiki to end the chapter. Okay. There is a lot going on here. The chapter can really easily be divided into two parts, which is something I say a lot, but it's a common trope I've noticed. First, and it's very easily divided specifically by Witch's arrival. The first part is very kind of comic, with a tinge of sadness, with the knowledge that Andrew is dead. But, the humor coming from Nadia, constantly going from the kind of stoic self to blushing and thinking about Andrew, and all of that, again, tempered with the knowledge that Andrew is long since dead, and Nadia does not have the sense of human time to realize that. And I imagine eventually we're going to reach the point where, she knows. They have to tell her at some point, or it's just kind of a wasted storyline, I feel like. But then Laguna shows up. There's still a little bit of mystery around Laguna as to what was the condition that Witch agreed to. But then they come up very quickly with a plan to turn Shiki into water, but still give him the coating of his natural body. I was honestly expecting more of a Juvia style thing when Witch laid this out. That he would still look like himself, but be technically water. But he is definitively made of water. He is see-through. He has like the water patterns on him. And then then we have he arrives at the temple, where the treasure once was, and he kind of has some kind of link with Mother. So I imagine next chapter will be a lot to dig into, but this chapter isn't really that much to dig into. It's a lot of forward motion of the plot, and not a lot of things to consider, things to discuss. There's not really like a good fight to break down into. It's kind of it's not. I'm trying to find the right word for this. It's definitely not nothing happens. A lot happens here, but it's very simple. It's very much like we're here to get to the next part of the story. And the next part of the story looks to be really big and really juicy, as Shinra has some kind of link with Mother. And I'm excited to see what that's about. But until then, that's all I have to say for this chapter. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!